This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. Democrats are hoping to take down the Trump administration today on one of the president's signature issues, immigration, with 3 committee hearings on his handling of the issue. This even as Border Patrol leaders report some of the highest number of illegal border crossings ever and warn the system is at a breaking point. Heather Sells has been following this story, and she joins us now in the CBN newsroom with an update. Heather.
Yeah, Mark, crossings are up legal and illegal across the board. The new numbers show an incredible strain. 76,000 people crossed into the U.S. last month, more than double from the same time last year.
These numbers are remarkable. 76,000 total apprehensions and inadmissible arrivals in a 4-week month in February. That's the highest number of encounters in any February in the last 12 years.
Border Patrol has also seen a change in demographics, more families and large groups and fewer individuals. And they're seeing fewer people crossing illegally. It's a humanitarian crisis, says Border Patrol, one their facilities are not equipped for. And they say it's a security problem because they can't focus on smugglers and drug traffickers when they have to divert so many resources to care for parents and children. Now, Democrats are trying to hammer the Trump administration on its infamous and short-lived zero-tolerance policy from last year. They point to the several thousand children that the U.S. separated from their parents at the border. Here is what Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen said about how the administration currently handles children at the border whose parents are being removed, that is, deported.
Consistent with longstanding practice and the law, before we deport any alien after they have gone through the process and receive a final order of removal, we do ask them if they would like to take their children with them. At that same time, their consulate or embassy, for purposes of issuing them travel papers, also asks them, would you like to be removed with your children as you're removed?
Mark, a lot of Democrats are skeptical about any serious border crisis, but that's what Nielsen and others in Border Patrol say they're up against. Border Patrol plans to build a new processing center in El Paso to accommodate this volume that they're seeing, but they insist that a long-term, sustainable solution is needed.
All right. Thank you, Heather, for that report. Democrats have launched a sweeping investigation into allegations of corruption, obstruction, and abuse of power against President Trump. The House Judiciary Committee sent 81 letters to people and organizations seeking information, including a request to the White House for documents regarding security clearances for the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. The White House promises they will cooperate with the investigation, but have rejected the request for security clearance documents. The Trump-Pence team is already setting its sights on re-election. One issue it's watching is what appears to be growing anti-Semitism in the Democratic Party. The campaign's national press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, told CBN's Faith Nation that the ongoing consistent anti-Semitic remarks are sad for America.
This is not a one-time thing for Ilhan Omar. There have been multiple remarks. Likewise, we've seen some comments that are similar from Rashida Tlaib and certainly those around her. You know, this is something we should all stand against. It's striking to me that it's taken this long for Democrats to say anything in the form of this resolution, but there's no doubt she shouldn't be sitting on the Foreign Affairs Committee.
McEnany says that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi should take action and remove Omar from the committee. In a rare show of unity, all 9 Supreme Court justices unanimously agreed police should have limited power to seize private property. The recent ruling has advocates on both sides of the aisle celebrating, and as Amber Strong reports, it's sparking new hopes of bipartisanship in Washington.
What do a Christian rock band and a politician have in common? Both saw their personal belongings disappear through a practice known as civil asset forfeiture.
After all of this, I just want to get all the money back to the proper owners.
Iwa, manager of a Christian music group, was pulled over by Oklahoma law enforcement after a week on the road. The $30,000 they'd raised for charity, seized. Police thought he was a drug dealer, though no drugs were found. And GOP candidate Geraldo Serrano lost his truck after Border Patrol officers found 5 bullets in his console. He was detained but never charged. In both high-profile cases, the property was returned, eventually. The practice is perfectly legal.
Law enforcement has a suspicion that something you've got on you, a fancy car, whatever money is in your glove compartment, may have been involved in a crime in some way. And they say, well, because of my suspicion, I'm just going to take this.
Defenders say there are positive sides to civil asset forfeiture. Law enforcement uses the resources for equipment and salaries. According to the Institute for Justice, the DOJ used it to take $4.5 billion in 2014. Lawmakers like Senator Rand Paul want to put the practice on trial.
Many poor people in our country have cash taken from them, and then the government says, prove to us where you got the cash, and then you can get it back. But the burden's on the individual.
Then came the Supreme Court. In the case of Timms v. Indiana, the court decided the $42,000 vehicle seized from Tyson Timms was excessive, more than 4 times the amount in fines he would have paid for that conviction. While the court's ruling doesn't end asset forfeiture, experts predict it will help fuel the next big bipartisan push.
A lot of lawmakers on the right and the left are saying, my goodness, isn't this a violation of individual liberties? I mean, it's one thing if you convict somebody, but if you haven't been convicted, the government is just taking your private property.
And that may cause law enforcement to think twice before putting its hands in the property cookie jar. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Our team in D.C. will have more on the latest in Washington on tonight's Faith Nation, and you can catch that right here on the CBN News Channel. Turning back now to the migrant crisis, we spoke with David and Sarah with the Heritage Foundation for more information. For more on this situation, we're joined now by David and Sarah, a Homeland Security Policy Analyst at the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank in Washington. David, thanks for joining us. As we just reported, Border Patrol is seeing an incredible jump in the number of people at the U.S.-Mexico border. What's your take on why we're seeing this spike and why so many of those crossing are now family groups and not individuals?
Yeah, that's the real story here. The reality is that we've got a lot of people coming across the border right now, but it's not the way it was back, say, 10 years ago. February saw 76,000 people attempt to cross the border, but of that 76,000, some 40-some thousand were family units or unaccompanied children. So we're seeing many more people with children, many more families coming, and it's really because of some loopholes in our laws where if you come across our border with a child, we release you. That's a law which Congress needs to fix.
Congress, of course, is considering the president's request to build more border walls. How might that situation, or how might that affect this situation that's going on at the border?
Yeah, so border barriers can play some role. They help slow down migrants, but the problem in this case actually isn't catching them. I mean, we're apprehending, more than we have in 12 years. That's a proof that we're actually doing a good job catching people. The problem is that we can't remove them after we've caught them. Most people are we're going to release them, and then we never hear from them again. We never see them at an immigration court hearing. And it's because of these catch and release loopholes in our laws. And I think that's honestly more important. We need to address that more importantly than more border barriers or something like that.
What do you think will need to be the long-term solution to solve our border problem then?
Yeah, so it really has to be a combination of things. So yes, we need some more border security. Yes, we need more border barriers, more technology at our ports of entry. We also need to have these loopholes shut down and shut down tomorrow. We need to fix our asylum system. We also need interior enforcement. We need to stop people from overstaying their visa. It's got to be a whole package of things to better enforce our laws. And right now, we've got so many loopholes and so many weak laws that it is nearly impossible for the Border Patrol to be able to do its job.
Politically, what's your sense of these hearings in Washington today? Who's winning in the public perception game?
Yeah, so I really think it's unfortunate that right now from the left, all we hear is, oh, you're detaining immigrants. The reality is if you want to actually have laws, you need to detain and remove people. The Abolish ICE crowd is strong right now in Washington, D.C., especially in the House of Representatives. And they need to realize that we need to enforce our laws. You need to have a system of immigration laws that are enforced. You can disagree on how those laws are formed or what their makeup is, but the reality is you need to have these laws enforced. And right now, many people on Capitol Hill are strongly arguing against that.
Okay, David and Sarah with the Heritage Foundation, thank you so much for your insight, sir.
Thank you.
President Trump says he will travel to Alabama to meet with tornado victims Friday. The president is also planning to send federal aid to the state after a string of deadly tornadoes hit parts of Alabama Sunday. At least 23 people died, and rescue teams say they are fairly close to being done with the search for survivors. The surrounding community is stepping up to support families who lost loved ones, including one family that lost 7 of its members. Meanwhile, 2 anonymous corporations say they will pay for the funerals of all 23 victims. It's wonderful. Turning now to North Korea, the country is reportedly rebuilding structures at a long-range rocket launch site that it dismantled last year as part of its steps toward disarmament. That's according to foreign experts and a South Korean lawmaker who was briefed by that country's spy service. It's not clear how the report might affect nuclear diplomacy. Last week's summit between the U.S. and the North ended when President Trump walked away over differences on relief from sanctions on North Korea. ISIS could be only days away from defeat inside Syria. U.S.-backed forces are steadily applying pressure on militants as more civilians flee the area. The latest evacuation means the Kurdish forces are a step closer to victory. But these allies hope they will not be abandoned once the fight is over.
The Syrian people gave a lot of sacrifices. I think we have more than 9,000 or 10,000 martyrs who sacrificed their lives during the fight to defeat terrorism in the area.
Well, coming up, what you can do to protect your children on social media as more and more sexual predators target them there.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I Wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Welcome back. From the 48-hour challenge to suicide tutorials on YouTube, social media may be developing into a vehicle that is out to harm children. According to the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, Instagram has now become the prime vehicle for sex traffickers to target children. So how can parents protect their children in this digital age? Here to answer that question is Melissa Henson. She is the program director with the Parents Television Council. Melissa, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me on.
How do you suggest parents keep tabs on what their children are doing online?
Well, I think the only absolute surefire solution is to not allow your children to have social media accounts until they're old enough and mature enough to be able to use them responsibly. So even though platforms like Facebook or YouTube might offer what they call kids versions or kids complements to the adult versions, that doesn't mean your kids are going to be safe when they're in that universe.
Are there ways that children can keep their parents from accessing their social media accounts? And then is there a workaround for parents?
Well, unfortunately, it's so often the case that kids are more tech savvy than the parents are. And so, we're just trying to keep up a lot of the times. And our kids are the first ones to figure out how a lot of these platforms work. So it can be a challenge. I would say some absolute rules that parents should set down in their homes are no computers or devices in bedrooms. Any screen time needs to be done in a family room or a shared environment so that you can supervise what your kids are doing online. A lot of parents make their kids turn in their cell phones or their tablets or internet-connected devices at the end of the day, and the parents keep them in their bedroom so that they can be sure that their kids aren't going online when they're supposed to be asleep or when they're not being supervised. There are also devices that you can put into your home, right at the place where your Wi-Fi router is, things like Circle by Disney and other filtering software and filtering devices. But none of those are 100% solutions. The only way to absolutely guarantee your kids are going to be safe online is to prohibit the social media accounts until they're 16 and older and mature enough to handle all the worldly messages that they're getting from these platforms.
And quickly, Melissa, is there any way to keep social media websites accountable for the content on their platforms?
Yeah, and that's a real challenge. We've certainly seen a lot of stories in the news lately about people sneaking things into videos that are intended for kids and are available on the YouTube Kids video platform. But there's so much content being uploaded constantly that it's really impossible for any human being or even any computer algorithm to completely catch everything. So as I say, the best way is just to limit your kids' exposure to those platforms or to only let them use them when you're there to supervise in person.
And don't be afraid as a parent to speak out and even contact the social media platforms directly.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you do see something inappropriate, be sure to flag it so that other kids don't see it.
All right, great advice, Melissa Henson with the Parents Television Council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more CBN NewsWatch right after this.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson.
Every 30 minutes, a baby is born in this country that is addicted to drugs because the mother had been hooked on opioids. One ministry called Angel Arms is working to save the youngest generation from this scourge. Lori Johnson shows us how they're helping both the babies and their mothers make it through those first critical days after birth.
Each day, hospital workers deal with babies born addicted to opioids.
They often are very unconsolable is probably the best way to describe it.
It can take around 2 weeks to wean these tiny victims off the drug. Then hospitals discharge the babies, even though they still feel the after effects.
Most of the time, the babies still go home with mom,
provided she promises to stay clean. A new mom who's withdrawing, taking care of a difficult baby who's also withdrawing, too often breaks under the pressure and falls into a dangerous relapse.
I believe unless the people of faith stand up, the opioid crisis is going to continue to overtake us.
That's why Christian counselor Dawn Hennessy started Angel Arms, a ministry helping both moms and babies recovering from addiction.
I believe, honestly, that God has called the people, His kingdom people, to save the lost, the broken, the orphans, the widows.
Here at Angel Arms, these volunteer snugglers focus on the little victims.
We love them. We do pray for them. And sometimes they just need held really tight when they're shaky, belly aches, coughing, spitting up a lot.
Thanks to medical training and help from above, they can help with the extreme agitation suffered by the babies.
Well, today, while his stomach was giving him a hard time, I was just whispering the name of Jesus in his ear. And yeah, I do pray over him while I'm holding them. But the name of Jesus is powerful.
Snugglers also give mom a break so other volunteers can focus on her.
There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of people I've worked with that have come out into recovery now, and there's a lot of children that we've been able to help.
Kathy Shively's addiction began, as many do, trying to ease the pain.
I have 3 dental implants, so the pain from the dental implants caused me to be prescribed lots of pain medication. So opiates became an addiction.
She brings little Connor here because these snugglers soothe him in a way no one else can.
It's overwhelming for family to watch an NAS baby because there are times when he's just so fussy and there's nothing that they could do. I've had to leave jobs and come home.
In addition to childcare, Angel Arms provides free baby supplies, helps moms find housing, and pursues anything that will promote stability.
And I really felt trapped, and I think that the heroin addiction, that's a good description of it. You just feel trapped, and you can't get out, you know, until you have somebody come along your side to help you.
In order for her child to receive care at Angel Arms, mom must get regular Christian counseling here.
What I tell my staff is you need to see them through the eyes of Jesus as broken people that need love. So we've actually experienced whole families coming to know Jesus just because of a little baby.
When I come here, it brings me encouragement. If I need to cry, they hear me cry. If I need to know what the next step is, they guide me in the next step.
Angel Arms never charges a fee because outside donors helped fund the ministry.
We just rely on what God gives us, and so far it's worked.
And as it grows, so does the need.
We have police officers calling us. We have drug court here in Pennsylvania. So we have judges calling us, attorneys, social workers. We had people from West Virginia, Ohio, Maryland calling us.
Fortunately, other faith groups are calling as well.
I do tell churches before we work with them, are you ready for the least of these to come into your congregation? And are you ready to put your arms around them and love them?
And Hennessy plans to expand because she knows help is needed beyond regular working hours. This large home was donated to Angel Arms. Once it's renovated, it'll be used as a residential program where people can stay overnight for weeks at a time. They're praying God will provide the resources for the big renovation. So while the opioid epidemic rages on, ministries like Angel Arms work to break the generational curse of addiction. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
A wonderful ministry, and we'll be back with more of CBN NewsWatch right after this.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Some moviegoers are already calling Captain Marvel one of the biggest superhero movies of the year. It's also the first solo female superhero movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It arrives in theaters Friday, which is International Women's Day. But there is more to see on Studio 5 tonight. Get a full behind-the-scenes look at Captain Marvel on Studio 5 tonight at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel. Gospel music Sandy Patty is also on the show, and we have the story of a civil rights leader and Ku Klux Klan leader working together to better children. I think we have a clip to watch, don't we?
We need heroes. We need you.
Captain Marvel.
Going behind the scenes of the latest Marvel adventure.
Doing fight sequences up and down a train for 3 days. Felt kind of alive.
For an up-close look at all the action.
You know how to fly this thing?
We'll see. Which I realized after going to the Air Force Base is really what Air Force pilots are like.
That's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Wow, sounds action-packed or looks action-packed. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care about most at cbnnews.com, including more on Captain Marvel. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.